You're going to decide, are you going to use TTL or are you not going to use TTL? Your decision. TTL is getting better and better and better. And if you want to shoot a room like this in TTL, there's really only one way you're going to do it, and I'll show you how to do it in a second. Number 2 on our list, the Quantum Q Flash T5DR. That's that big brute that's up on the stand right here. This regular, most folks just call that a Q Flash. That's Q Flash T5DR. If you want to use that on your camera, you're going to need a camera bracket. Yes, it's big. It's not very heavy at all. Once you figure out how to use it, it's very simple. It may look a little complex, but it's not. It's actually very simple. You will have to run it with a battery pack. You have a wide variety of battery packs. Dury sells every quantum piece that there is. Neat part about it, when you want to trigger it wirelessly, no batteries in the receiver. There's your Q Flash. Here's your wireless receiver. Set it to the channel you want. It just snaps into place. Done. Now it's wireless. You can trigger it from whatever you want to. You're going to have to use the FreeX wire transmitter, or you're going to use a Trio, because a Trio Flash, thanks pal, has FreeX wire technology built into it. So this can go on your camera and will wirelessly trigger your Q Flash, even in TTL mode, perfectly. That's a TTL beast. The king of all wireless remote functions is the technological masterpiece, and I use that term very, very tightly. This is called a pilot. This is probably the most complicated piece of photo equipment you'll ever work with. However, it is a complete flash controller. This talks only to quantum gear. If you trigger your regular flash with a quantum receiver, you can trigger your regular flash with this too. But the neat part about this is once you turn this bad boy on and you slide it into your camera's hot shoe, it then will allow you to send wireless TTL signals over to that flash. Say you're in an environment where you can't use TTL. Say you've got a big open window and you just want to fill flash and TTL don't go together very well. Say we want to make that flash manual, but it's on a light stand and we don't want to walk over there because there's a bunch of people. Do you know I can actually turn this pilot on and I can control that Q Flash and flip it from TTL to manual power, and I can meter it and go, oh, that's 2/3 of a stop too hot. I can move it down 2/3 of a stop right from the back of my camera. Is that sweet? Sweet. Then I can have other flashes. Say I want one Q Flash in the corner and another Q Flash there, and maybe another one right behind me. And when I'm working over here, no sense firing that one. I can just turn that flash off for now from the back of the camera. Anything you can think of, you can do wirelessly here, and guess what? It triggers every time. Now it's big and bulky and nasty looking, isn't it? Yes, it's kind of funky. It doesn't need a battery pack. It's got batteries up in the top, which is really nice. And it slides right onto your camera, and it will control a Q Flash or a Trio. Right? By the way, never lift your camera up by the flash. Right? I get free repairs, right? Because I'm Will Crockett, which is really nice. Don't ever do this, right? Bad idea. What we're saying is, if you want to get in control indoors and outdoors of wireless flash, this is an awesome option. Think of Q Flash and quantum gear as a step between shoe flash and studio flash, because it is. They're powerful. One of the things that I like about this with my work is the fact that this tube sticks up like your thumb, and it radiates light sideways as well as forward. So when I'm going to bounce it into a corner, the light quality is beautiful. Couple that with the fact that I can control this TTL, and in fact I can do a 2-light TTL system, which I'll show you, that is really wonderful. So our top-rated flash is Quantum. The Quantum Trio. Yes, they advertise on Shoot Smarter. That has nothing to do with our ratings. So does Bogan, and Bogan is Metz. And do I get calls from Metz saying, why aren't we the #1 rated flash? Well, actually they were for a while, till the T5DR came out. I'm shooting you straight. Yes, you're going to have to sit down and learn that system. Yes, there are a lot of options to it. What battery pack am I going to use? Whatever, whatever. Look, don't freak out. If you're sick of having TTL problems and you want to sync your second light, stop trying to make your Nikons and your Canons work the way you want them to, because you're pushing them beyond their capacity. You're trying to ask a 10-year-old kid to drive a pickup truck, right? Sir?
Trio control that second flash over there and turn it off on, or would you need the pilot and the Trio?
Oh, I am so glad you asked that. All right, let's say we're going to get set up here to do a kind of a fancy 2-light shot. Okay, let me show you how this is going to work. Let's say that everybody's standing here. We don't have to stand. Let's say that they're standing, and we're going to have to work in this area and do shots of executive types at a mixer, right? Say it was the golf outing for one of my big accounts. Everybody goes back to the hotel, gets a shower, they put on some nice clothes and a sports coat. They come on back, they're going to have a couple of cocktails. I always like to shoot those as soon as they get there, because as soon as they get 2 drinks in them, they look completely different, right? So I always say I want to get my job done before the alcohol shows up. Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to work in a colored room like this all the time, right? This color doesn't scare me 1 inch, and I'll show you why. I'm going to start off by taking a Q flash, or you can use your studio flashes, or you could use your Metz flash or your Nikon flash if you wanted to. I'm just going to show you how I do it. This is connected to a very powerful battery. This is the Quantum 2x2. So this is the big beefy one that I like a whole lot. And the reason is it has 2 ports, which means you can plug 2 different devices in it if you want to. Also, if you're out on a gig and you need to charge this really fast, you can put 2 charges in at the same time and go from flat to full in 48 minutes. So you don't have to bring a second battery. Smart, huh? Gotta love that. No, you can't charge it and shoot it at the same time, because I know somebody was gonna ask that. Next, just your basic Manfrotto swivel clamp, right? Nothing fancy. This is just the same thing that we've been using for decades to mount up a flash. I'm also going to put this in its wireless linked to local mode, which means it's going to take direction from any FreeXWire system that it sees. It's already set to the right channel, by the way. Going to put it on a nice sturdy stand. This is a Manfrotto stacker stand. If you haven't seen those, see them in front of Pamela. They're all snapped together for storage. These are the best things. They're cheap too. They're not very expensive at all. Well, let's say I want this to be a primary light. And the first thing I'll do is I'll literally put it over here, tip this forward, and I'd probably go get a plastic tree from somewhere, and I'd put it right here so nobody would trip over this and nobody really sees it. So if the tree is this high, you'd see the Q flash right up on top there. Notice how I have that pointed into the corner a little bit? Great. Next, we talk about using fast glass all the time, don't we? One of the reasons is it'll focus in low light conditions without any sort of problems. So just for example, I'm going to use a portrait-y kind of lens, because this is the kind of work that I do. This is an 85mm f1.4 lens. So it's extremely fast. On my camera is a Trio. I need to turn this on. Now I've just got the standard reflector bouncing off the ceiling, and that's not going to give me a very good look. It's still going to be pretty top heavy. So instead of just shooting a picture that doesn't look terrific, most of you understand what would happen if I had both of these lights firing and I take a picture right here. The light's going to be pretty top heavy on the girls in the front, right? It's not going to be very flattering. We want to use whatever light modifier you want to. And if you want to use a light sphere, use a light sphere. If you want to use the LumaQuest baseball gloves, go ahead, use whatever you want to use.